की जय. ISKCON founder Acharya, BBT founder Acharya, serve the whole world, Jagat Guru, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vind ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayet Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 6, The Killing of the Demon Putana, text 41. Katadumasya Saurabhyam Katadumasya Saurabhyam Avagrihaya Avagrhaya Vrajaukasaha Avagrhaya Vrajaukasaha Kim idam kuta eva iti Kim idam kuta eveti Vadantaha Vrajam ayayahu Vadanto Vrajam ayayahu Katadumasya Saurabhyam Avagrhaya Vrajaukasaha Kim idam kuta eveti Vadanto Vrajamayayahu Katadumasya Saurabhyam Avagrhaya Vrajaukasaha Kim idam kuta eveti Vadanto Vrajamayayahu. Katadumasya, of the smoke emanating from the fire, burning the different parts of Putana's body. Saurabhyam, the fragrance. Avagraya, when they smelled through their nostrils. Vraja Okasaha, the inhabitants of Vrajabhumi in distant places. Kimmidam, what is this fragrance? Kutaha, where does it come from? Eva, indeed. Iti, in this way. Vadantaha, speaking. Vrajam, the place of Nanda Maharaj. Vrajabhumi. Ayayahu, reached. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Bhai Charana Arvinda, Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Upon smelling the fragrance of the smoke emanating from Putana's burning body, many inhabitants of Vrajabhumi in distant places were astonished. Where is this fragrance coming from? They asked. Thus they went to the spot where Putana's body was being burned. Can you repeat the translation? Upon smelling the fragrance of the smoke emanating from Putana's burning body, many inhabitants of Vrajabhumi in distant places were astonished. Where is this fragrance coming from? They asked. Thus, they went to the spot where Putana's body was being burned. Purport. The aroma of the smoke emanating from a burning fire is not always very favorable. Therefore, upon smelling such a wonderful fragrance, the inhabitants of Vraja were astonished. Thus ends the Bhaktivinoda purport and translation to Canto 10, Chapter 6, Text 41 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Katadhumasya. Here, Shukadeva Goswami is saying what happened when the different bodily parts of Putana was being burnt by the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Katadhumasya. Smoke emanated from the burning of Putana's body, and that smoke spread far and wide, even to the neighboring villages. And although, as we generally know, when you burn a dead body, there's no nice experience of burning a dead body. But here, upon burning Putana's body, Saurabhyam, there was very nice fragrance. And that fragrance was spreading to neighboring villages. Generally, the smoke from the fire itself doesn't have good fragrance. The smoke from the burning of the dead body obviously will not be having any good fragrance. But the smoke from the burning of the dead body of Putana was very fragrant, Saurabhyam. And Avagraya Vrajaukasaha. When the residents of the neighboring villages next to Gokula, Vrindavana. Vrindavan is quite a big land area. 84 kosh. Vrajabhumi is 84 kosh. So, when the fragrance reached the avagraya nostrils of the residents of the neighboring villages and towns. What happened? Kim idam kuta eva iti? Where is this beautiful fragrance coming from? What is the source of this fragrance? We have never smelt anything like this before. Vadantaha vrajam ayayuhu. Like this, Vadantaha, they were talking among each other. Vadantaha. And tracking the source of this fragrance, they came from neighboring villages and they spotted the body of Putana. And finally, they came to the house of Nanda Maharaj. And realizing that the darling son of Nanda had performed this wonderful feat of killing Putana, actually they came to congratulate Nanda Maharaj and the child. So this entire episode was very astonishing to the residents of Vrindavan, even to the neighboring residents of Vrindavan. This entire Putana pastime is full of wonder, one above the other. This small child Krishna, how did he kill this most powerful demon Putana, and how he has become safe, and how killing Putana's body is bringing or giving about nice wonderful fragrance, and how all these things can happen in Nanda Maharaj's home. How can this demon come into Nanda Maharaj's home? And how did Krishna kill? Somehow, whatever it may be, everything is very astonishing. So, a very interesting point to note is, although, first of all, burning a dead body doesn't bring about good fragrance. Secondly, this Putana was a demoness, filled with all kinds of obnoxious qualities, non-godly qualities. And how is it burning her body has brought about a very nice fragrance? So actually the acharyas have explained that because Krishna embraced Putana and Krishna touched the contaminated body of Putana, she became completely purified. And Krishna not even touching, he lay on her lap and he even drank Putana's breast milk and thereby completely sucking out the poison, gross poison, which was smeared upon her breast. The poison poison mixed in the milk, poison smeared breast, even that poison Krishna neutralized, and along with that Krishna also washed off, burnt off all the sinful reactions and sinful tendencies also, root of sinful desires, this sinful tendency, even that also Krishna destroyed in Putana's body, Putana's personality. And therefore, because her body has become completely pure, burning of her body led to a wonderful fragrance, emanation of a wonderful fragrance. This is the central point of this verse. So that means Krishna's association is so powerful and potent and purifying. A classic example is Putana Leela. That is why in the Isopanishad, nicely described, there's one very nice verse in the Isopanishad where it says in the 8th verse of Isopanishad, Saparyaga Chukramakayama Vrinam Asna Viram Shuddham Apapa Viddham. So Isopanishad is saying, Shuddham Apapa Viddham. That means there are two qualities in context to Krishna's purity, which is being highlighted by Upanishad. Shuddham and Apapaviddham, two qualities. Prabhupada gives a scientific term for this. Shuddha means antiseptic, and Apapaviddha means prophylactic. Very interesting terms Prabhupada has used. So antiseptic means in the sense that even an impure thing becomes purified by touching Krishna or coming in contact with Krishna. It's called Shuddham. Anything impure comes in contact with Krishna, becomes purified by his touch. And this example of Putana is relevant in this regard. It's completely impure. Impure meaning contaminated consciousness. Demoniac nature. Still, she became completely purified by Krishna's touch, Krishna's association. Shuddham. Then, Apapaviddham means sin cannot touch Krishna. Prophylactic. Sin cannot touch Krishna. Therefore, in the Bhagavatam elsewhere it is said, Teji yasam na doshaya. Teji means something very powerful. Very, very powerful. So actually Teji refers to generally the sun. Or anybody or anything which is very powerful. So you can't approach. So Teji yasam na doshaya. That means the sun does not become contaminated. The sun does not become contaminated. Just like the sun, its rays are reaching even contaminated places, contaminated waters. And if the sun rays touches even a contaminated place or contaminated substances, they become purified. They become purified. They become sterilized. Just like in the hospital, if you see, they keep one small steel box and the water is always boiling. And then the patient comes, they give injection. After that, they'll put back that needle into the hot water for sterilization. For sterilization. Because when the water is boiling, that means actually it is fire element. The principle working there is actually fire. Teji Asam. So by the effect of the boiling water, even the contamination, in case if there is in the needle, becomes sterilized. Again, you can use it on another patient. N number of times. So, the sun draws water even from gutters. But the sun itself doesn't become contaminated. Like that, the example is given. Powerful persons, very powerful persons, whatever they do, they don't become contaminated. Sin can't touch them. Therefore, you can't judge with your yardstick or the yardstick which is meant for conditioned souls. You can't judge powerful persons. This is one of the very common mistakes we make. And therefore, people misunderstand Krishna's position and they judge Krishna from human perspective. How can Krishna do this, Krishna do that? How are you comparing yourself with Krishna? And what laws apply to you? How does it apply on him? What is sin for you may not be sin for Krishna. Very important point to note. Sin and piety is only for conditioned souls, not for Krishna. Krishna is transcendental to both punya and papa. That's why we say transcendence. Is beyond this punya and papa, all these things. So you cannot judge Krishna from the perspective, from the law of punya and papa. Both of them does not apply to him. Therefore, whatever God does, we say it is transcendental. It is neither punya nor papa. Similarly, whatever a pure devotee does, it is neither punya nor papa. Similarly, anything done in devotional service cannot be counted either as punya or as papa. It is transcendental. Transcendental. Similarly, the devotees of the Lord are transcendental. Therefore, they are called transcendentalists. We hear this term often. What is the meaning of this? Transcendentalist. One of the meaning, there are many meanings for transcendentalist. This is one of the meaning. Who is a transcendentalist? For whom both punya and papa does not affect. He has nothing to do with punya and papa. Therefore, devotional service, what we are actually teaching, has nothing to do with punya and papa of this material world. Devotional service belongs to the spiritual world. It doesn't belong to the material world. It is not an act of this material world. What does it mean? It is not an act of this material world means, what does it mean? It is not an act conducted under the influence of three modes of material nature. Because every activity we do is influenced by three modes, prompted by, triggered by three modes. Whatever you do, you don't know actually, because we don't know the science. Just like we're not doctors, so I don't know why this person is going through this difficulty. Say as some kind of sickness. I can't understand because I'm not a doctor. Similarly, if you're not a spiritualist or a transcendentalist, you cannot understand how a person is acting, why he is acting, for what he is acting. But a transcendentalist can see all this. A devotee can see all this. Every action that's described in the Bhagavad Gita, every action in any form, thought, word or deed in all the levels is prompted by the three modes, sattvic, rajasic and tamasic. Every activity we do. A little sober, later you will realize. If you're not sober, we will continue in that way. Not even realizing, recognizing. How am I acting? Not even realizing. 99% people, they're all in this situation. Unfortunately, because there's no education. For the first time, this is being attempted. In these teachings of Bhagavatam, to present this knowledge, at least we can recognize how our actions are being prompted. Thoughts are prompted, words are prompted, deeds are prompted. Otherwise, people don't even have idea. They go on with the waves of material nature. So for a devotee who is acting in spiritual platform or transcendental platform, there is no punya and papa considerations or judgments from the perspective of law of karma, which is simply to do with punya and papa. If you're neither performing punya nor papa, now you are out of law of karma. Circle. Finished. Very simple. How do you get out of the circle of law of karma? Simply stop performing punya and papa. Then what is the alternative? Third alternative? Devotional service. That's described in the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. If you perform devotional service, you are immediately out of the circle of punya and papa. So, sin cannot touch, and they don't perform any sin. On the other hand, whoever sinful comes in contact with such personalities, they become purified. So Krishna's devotees, all of them are transcendentalists. It's not only Krishna. Krishna's devotees, pure devotees, Krishna's associates, Krishna's family members, the residents of the spiritual world, they're all Shuddham Apapa Viddham. No sin can touch them. So, we should not judge with our material perspective or apply material rules upon them and bring them to the subject of judgment. It's wrong. So Prabhupada says that if sun, although being a material object, has that much purifying potency, that even contaminated objects, places, even persons become purified, then how much must be the potency of the Supreme Lord? So one has to think about this. So here we see that Putana, when she came in touch with Krishna, she became purified. Krishna did not become contaminated. Many examples can be given in this regard. So in other words, any conditioned soul or a sinful living being comes in touch with Krishna or Krishna's pure devotee, they will become purified of their sinful tendencies. Contaminated consciousness. They'll get away from the contaminated consciousness and revive their original pure Krishna consciousness. This is the effect of Krishna consciousness. So, that is why Sadhu Sangha, Rupa Goswami, he recommends, advises Sadhu Sangha, association of devotees of the Lord. Because without Sadhu Sangha, it is not possible. Just like unless you come in touch with fire, there is no purification of a contaminated object. No possibility. Is there any other way? There is no other way. That's why you see even in the goldsmith shop, they purify the gold by placing the gold or golden ornaments in the fire and heat it and purify it from contamination. Sometimes, you take a gold jewelry and you want to recast it, remold it, or redesign it. Then there are some impurities in the gold as it is worn by somebody. So, through atmosphere, through physical touch. So, whatever the impurity the gold has acquired, by placing it in fire, it will separate off the impurity from the gold. That's why you see there's a costing for that also. They will separate gold. This much is the purity, this much is the impurity, they say. So there's a process for separating the impurity in the gold. But there's a burning which happens at that time to separate the impurity. Similarly, Krishna consciousness is a boiling process. The boiling process. So all the impurity of the jiva is separated from the pure jiva, pure consciousness of the soul. Anartha upashamam sakshat bhakti yogam adokshajam. Vyasadeva said this. Anartha upashamam sakshat bhakti yogam adokshajam. To practice bhakti yoga, anartha upashamam. Upashama means it is pacified. Shamaha also means to bring under control. Upashama means shanta, to pacify, to quieten the passions. There's a lot of vega or forces inside this body. Different kinds of forces are there. That's why I'm saying, as a conditioned soul, we have no idea. All the time we are in the influence of material forces. We have no idea also. All the time we are influenced 24/7. Our talking, our eating, our sleeping, our working, our thinking, our decision making, our planning, everything is a material force. And triggered by, influenced by, encouraged by, nourished by the three modes of material nature. Krishna uses this word nourished by. 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Nourished by the three modes. First of all, we are in Maya, further nourished by the three modes. You can just imagine our position. Like Putana, nourished by Kamsa. As it is, she is a demoness and she is nourished by Kamsa. It's like we take milk for nourishment every day so that we are nourished always. Similarly, every day Kamsa is nourishing all these demons. Every day he'll get an update. Like we get a quote update, no, every day. We put in our ashram notice board every day so that, every day we remember some good quote from Prabhupada, from Bhagavatam. So that's the input we are giving every day. Hopefully one day we'll become fully pure. And here you imagine the nourishment every day, some sinful thought, some sinful activity, contaminated consciousness, that kind of thoughts, that kind of news, that kind of picture, that kind of video, that kind of talks, that kind of people you associate with every day. And we are not even aware. Just by the Sangha dosha association, everything is getting infused in us. We're getting infused. You see, fused, we say, use the word fused. After infusion, finally you'll become fused with that contamination and you will become that personality. After that, yes, I am this. So what? So what? You see, speak to a karmi, you cannot touch him at all. Completely insulated in Maya. You just can't enter his zone. Fully insulated, fused. Fused. Finished. You just can't tell anything about Krishna or see this is not okay. Finished. He is fused. No entry zone. So, that is the helpless state of the jiva, where he is completely in Maya, ignorance. Even such a person, such thick covering of Maya. You know what is thick covering means? Sometimes we give this good example. Sometimes you take any object, even person you can take. Suppose you don't broom, you don't mop with water. One day, one layer of, fine layer of dust which you can't see also. Now also you see, dust is there but you can't see. Interestingly, tile is also a little dark. So both gets nicely merged. That's why most people don't like light colors. It will show up very prominently. Anyway, so second day you don't broom or mop. Third day, fourth day, fifth day, 1 month, little will be visible. Some gross dust covering the ground. Now imagine 1 year, 10 years, 20 years. Suppose an object is left unattended without cleaning it. The dust accumulates, and by the effect of physical nature, it forms deposits and starts becoming thick and thicker. After something becomes so thick, it gets attached to it. Even further as time passes, it becomes part of it and you really got to cut it or scrape it. Scrape it or cut it. Not easy. That's why you see this gold, why they put in fire. When you put in fire, what happens? No? That even the thick, very thick, hard, thick, second part is hard, covering gets loosened, cracked. You separate it. This is a scientific process. Exactly like that. Imagine we are just talking about days, months and years and still it becomes, the dirt becomes thick and further hard also. Materially I'm saying. Similarly, when you take of the qualities, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Then Labha, Puja, Pratishta, Kutinati, Jiva, Himsa, Nishiddhachar. Then Vacho Vegam, Manasa Vegam, Krodha Vegam, Jifva Vegam, Mudra Vegam, Upastha Vegam. Keeps on adding up. Atyahara, Prayasa, Prajalpa, Niyamagraha, Janasanga, Laulya. All these things, first it starts with fine layers, becomes thick, becomes hard. And that is the personal. That's why he's called a conditioned soul. Conditioned soul means what? He does not want to change. He is that. I am this. He identifies himself with the anarthas, while actually he is a pure soul. He identifies himself with the anarthas and becomes that personality, at least temporarily. Because of millions of lifetimes of collection, becomes hard covering upon the soul. So much so you can't identify now who is the soul and who is this contaminated person. Both becomes one. Like Putana. It is not the original nature of any jiva, including Kamsa. Essentially every soul is pure. Essentially every soul is pure. But by association, Karanam Guna Sangose Sat Asat Yoni Janmasu. In the 13th chapter, Krishna reveals this truth. By association with the three modes of material nature, you acquire different qualities and natures, which is not yours. Which is not yours. Somebody is a lusty person, somebody is an angry person, somebody is a demoniac person. That is not the nature of the soul. Because the soul is part and parcel of Krishna, who is all pure, Shuddham Apapa Viddham, as his Upanishad says. So how can the part and parcel be impure? So technically, objectively, scientifically, it is not possible. Therefore, it is only an artificial imposition upon the soul. Artificial covering upon the soul. Therefore, it can be separated. There is another important point. That separation can be done by Krishna consciousness. Just like the heating process of the gold in the fire, the contamination, impurity of the gold is removed. Similarly, by applying ourselves to the fire of Krishna consciousness. Why it's called fire of Krishna consciousness? Why? Why do you compare fire and Krishna consciousness? Why do you say always fire of Krishna consciousness, fire of Krishna consciousness? So many things we say, what do you understand by all these things? Fire of Krishna consciousness means, why it is compared, Krishna consciousness is compared to fire? Because fire is pure. No contamination can touch the fire. Similarly, Krishna consciousness is all pure. No contamination can touch Krishna consciousness. That is how possibly Krishna consciousness can change you. If Krishna consciousness can become affected and contaminated, polluted, how can it influence you? Or in other words, Krishna consciousness means Krishna. If Krishna can become contaminated, can be subject to contamination, then how he can purify you? So Krishna cannot become contaminated at any point of time. Therefore we say, take shelter of Krishna, think of Krishna, you become purified. Because if Krishna can be subject to contamination, how can he purify you? If fire can be subject to contamination, how can fire purify and sterilize things? No. That we have never experienced, that fire has become contaminated. Never. So like that, so if you associate with Krishna or Krishna consciousness, then you become purified. And we should also know, importantly, that originally all of us are pure because we are directly the part and parcel of Krishna. Part and parcel of Krishna. So sometimes some section of people, they think that some souls are eternally condemned. Actually, it is not true. The souls are eternally not condemned. No. There's eternal condemnation of the soul. There's nothing like that. Constitutionally, the soul has the potency to revive his pure Krishna consciousness. Constitutionally, there is nothing like impure souls and pure souls. Because some Some section of people talk like that. These souls are all impure, these souls are all pure. There's no such thing. Or sometimes they categorize sattvic souls, rajasic souls, tamasic souls. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. There is some understanding like that also. These are sattvic souls, these are rajasic souls, these are tamasic souls. No. Soul is neither sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. Soul is transcendental. When we say sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, it's only the current status of the soul under the influence of sattvaguna, under the influence of rajoguna, under the influence of tamoguna. It is not the constitutional status of the soul. The original status of the soul is all pure because he is part and parcel of Krishna only. Just like you take, say, 50 ml of water and then you take 1 ml of water from that. It will share the same qualities only. How can it be different? Prabhupada always said that. Suppose you take about 1 glass of sea water and there is a complete sea water. In terms of quality, if you analyze properties, qualities, it will all be the same. How it can differ? If the source of sea water is the same, how it can differ? How the quality can be different? Similarly, if we are part and parcel of Krishna, how our guna can be different from Krishna? If Krishna is all pure, the part and parcel jiva is also all pure only. Not impure. Impure is a temporary, maybe a temporary current status of us. Similarly, Krishna is liberated soul. How the soul can be bound? Soul is also liberated only. But he has come under the subjugation of the 3 modes of material nature. He has subjected himself to the influence of the 3 modes. Why? Guna Sangha. He is associated with the 3 modes. Wrong association. Wrong association. The thought has changed. The soul's original nature is Krishna Nitya Dasa. His thought had been how to serve my Lord unconditionally. Suddenly it has changed. Quality has changed. No. It is my choice to live the way I want. That Seva Bhav has gone. Seva Bhav is gone from the soul. Ishvara Bhava has taken over. I should enjoy. I am the Lord. Everything should be according to my desire, my plan. This means many things anyway. Therefore, sometimes we see if our idea is not taken, we become disturbed. We become upset. Why my idea is not being taken? Why my plan is not being implemented? We become upset actually. See? Krishna's plan should be implemented. Krishna's desire should be implemented. Neither my plan nor somebody else's plan. If it is the will of the Lord, desire of the Lord, it will manifest. It will be implemented. So like that, finally we have to work on our understanding and refine our consciousness to a more and more finer degree. Then, just like as Putana's body burned and as Putana's contamination was getting separated from her, there was a wonderful fragrance emanating. Similarly, as the soul's contamination is separated from the soul, the purity of the soul, the pure nature of the soul becomes manifest. And that will be sensed by others. Just like this fragrance, where is it coming from? They were surprised. And they were attracted. And they were drawn. Similarly, as you become pure, then we will blossom with great fragrance in Krishna consciousness. The more we are contaminated, then there is no glory of the soul. I described 24 kinds of contaminations, quoting only Sanskrit. So more we are freed and we work on the contamination, then the soul's pure nature will come out. Otherwise, it will not come out. Just like this dirt, the thickness and the hardness. If somebody doesn't attempt to broom and mop or scrape it, it will remain and it will only pile up further. It will only pile up. By itself, it is not going to crack or it's not going to melt. It's not going to get separated. Nothing is going to happen. It's going to remain. Actually, it will not remain. The thickness and the hardness will only increase. Similarly, that's how you see conditioned soul normally in this world. Day by day is going to more maya, more maya, more maya, more. It is piling up basically, one above the other, one above the other, one above the other. And that piling up is primarily our consciousness. So we have to work on the consciousness level. And that is Krishna consciousness. So then we can actually see that day by day, actually we should feel enlightened and we should feel relieved from this burden of 24 anarthas, 24 contaminations. It's a big burden. It's a big burden. What is burden? Heaviness. And you can feel that. Heaviness means uncomfortability. And you can feel that. Oh, I am not comfortable, Prabhu. I am not comfortable. Even conditioned soul you meet, devotees, whoever. I am not comfortable. Yes. So there is a burden of so many contaminations. So if we are relieved of, then the fragrance of Krishna kindness can be experienced by not only you, not only me, everyone will sense that. Everyone will sense. That's why you see a pure devotee, for example, when he walks, you can sense such a nice person. Such a nice person. So like that, every soul is potentially pure. There is no eternal contamination. Therefore, there is a hope. Provided we apply ourselves to the proper process of Krishna kindness, which is the heating process to separate the impurity from the soul. So it may be a difficult process. Just like when the gold is getting heated, it is actually getting heated. It will be very hot. After that, it is cooled off and then you can wear that. And while making or designing the jewelry to another design, again, it has to be hot. Then only you can make design. If it is cooled off, gold becomes hard, you cannot make any design. But if it is in a hot, molten state, you can design. Similarly, actually, if at all we can change anybody, if they apply and agree for Krishna kindness, at that time only we can change them and correct them. If they don't agree for Krishna kindness, we cannot even touch. It's like a hard thing. You touch means, just like gold, regular gold you touch, you want to do design, not possible, it will only break. So you have to heat it and melt it. In that condition, you can make changes. And then cool it off, wonderful jewelry will come. So similarly, when the devotee is practicing sadhana bhakti, that time we can make corrections. Somebody is not practicing sadhana bhakti, not possible to correct. That is the position of the conditioned souls. So then, the Krishna kindness, original Krishna kindness will awaken. Therefore, we should not be disappointed. Devotees practicing bhakti. So many years I am practicing, but no major change is happening. No, nothing to worry. The heating process is going on. But subject yourself to the heating process and keep yourselves warm. That is important. That is the guideline. That means the heat of Krishna kindness must always be there. Then we are safe. So it is not that we are condemned or impure or sinful and eternally these sinful tendencies will remain in me. No, it will not remain. It will go away. That's why Bhakti Maharaj always talks about the Nagna Matrika Nyaya. It is not that I am born, I didn't have any dress. Doesn't mean whole life I will remain like that. Remain naked. Means I am born in ignorance doesn't mean whole life I will remain in ignorance. I can become a high court judge tomorrow. Highly learned. But when I took birth, totally in ignorance. But later on I may become a high court judge. So like that, Okay, maybe we have taken birth in ignorance. That Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Huh? We've taken birth in ignorance. That's the position of the conditioned soul in this world. But doesn't mean we have to remain in ignorance. We can cultivate Krishna consciousness and become enlightened and free from the contamination of material nature. And actually experience the fragrance of Krishna consciousness oneself, and it can also be experienced by others. Let's stop it. Kantrat Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.